London, 1694. Level 6. The State Machine. The Bank of England opened for business in 1694 and was tied from the start to state finance.
Alright, so like we discussed in my previous videos, my economics professor is always telling us that the best way to actually master global finance is to apply your imagination to logic. And to me that means toss the boring textbooks and get creative with visualizing how money actually works. So I'm doing exactly that with these videos. The last video for level 5 showed us that a merchant in Florence could move wealth across cities without moving a single coin. Just some ink, rows and columns in a book, and a massive amount of precarious trust. But here's what my econ textbooks keep missing out. The real power move wasn't the ledger book itself, it was a deal maker. A king who was losing a war walked into a room full of merchants and said, "I need millions of British pounds." And those merchants said, "Fine, but we get to build a bank." And so the Bank of England was born in 1694. The king got his war money, and I guess we all know how that feels lately. The merchants got a license to print the nation's money, and nobody in that room ever asked what happens to the people living downstream. That's us, by the way. Okay, level 6. This is where money stops being a tool and becomes a machine. State-backed, war-fueled, and running 24/7. Nice, right? Let's see if I can pass my degree with a little help from YouTube.
You wake up in an era where war, government, and finance are learning to hold hands more tightly. That may sound like a technical milestone. It is not technical for long. It means money is being locked into a larger architecture of public borrowing, institutional credibility, national power, and long-term financial administration. Finance is no longer merely helping commerce. It is helping govern the modern world. That changes the scale of everything. Now confidence is strategic. Debt is not just a private burden or a merchant tool. It becomes part of how states fund conflict, maintain authority, and project stability. You are living downstream of decisions made in rooms you will never enter. You still care about food prices, wages, rent, and survival. Above that, institutions are designing the conditions under which the currency itself will command trust. This is one of the great expansions in the history of money. Money moves from the market to the ledger to the institution to the state-backed system. A household feels the consequence. A government shapes the frame. That distance matters, because the further money rises into system design, the less visible its construction feels to ordinary people. You see the note, you use the coin, you pay the bill. But somewhere else, architecture is deciding your environment. Interest, liquidity, borrowing, confidence, national credibility. Money is becoming systemic. That creates huge power. It can stabilize, coordinate, mobilize, standardize. It can also make people feel small inside a machine too large to inspect. This is where the emotional history of money starts changing again. In the old world, power often looked personal. A king, a tax collector, a merchant house, a local authority. In the emerging modern world, power increasingly looks institutional. Buildings, charters, markets, public debt, centralized credibility. The money system begins to feel less like a set of objects and more like weather. You do not negotiate with weather, you adapt to it. That is how modern monetary life begins teaching populations to live inside structures that shape them from above. Money is now systemic. You are living inside a monetary machine.
All right, that's level 6, done and dusted. So the machine is running. The state's got its bank, the bank's got its license, and the money? It's not mine or yours anymore. It never was. Next level, level 7, we hit the factories. And here's your spoiler alert, unfortunately. Money doesn't just buy your labor, it buys your time and your clock. Your time literally gets a price tag, and once that happens, being late becomes a failure, rigid regularity becomes a virtue, and superhuman endurance amidst pain and suffering becomes your whole identity. Yeah, it gets personal, really personal. Tell me honestly in the comments right now, what's one thing you'd do if your time wasn't tied to a paycheck? And yeah, would someone please tell my economics professor to finally subscribe to my channel and start giving credits for my YouTube study videos? Professor, if you're out there, smash that subscribe button and turn on your notifications. See you in the next level.